Kia ora, good morning. It's December the 8th, 9th, somewhere around there. Sorry the light might not be very good, but I need to film this before I bring the potatoes in out of the sun. So I'm just walking into my veggie garden, and this morning, it's really beautiful at the moment, loads of flowers. The daylilies are stunning, there's some red ones there, the nasturtiums are flowering, we've got loads of violas and heartsease, the marigolds just coming out, beans are going up high, potatoes are flowering, alfalfa's been cut twice now, more daylilies. It's looking really beautiful. Broad beans are cropping heavily, the peppers are looking great, tomatoes. Down here, this is actually a special seed crop for the Institute of Wanganui giant carrots. But this morning I have harvested our early potatoes, and I've done a lot of weighing and measuring, and it's quite exciting to see what's happening. So here I've got 3 metres of yellow fir potatoes, and they were planted, I think we might have filmed it, we were planting them in trenches about 20 centimetres deep, and in the bottom of those trenches we put compost, lime, because we knew that we had not a good calcium magnesium ratio from the soil test. The biochar had sucked it all up. So we put lime, compost, and we knew also that there wasn't more than enough in the compost, and also a little bit of cow manure in each trench. So we planted them 30 centimetres apart in the rows, and we planted 3 rows in here. So we had 9 plants per square metre. And I've just harvested them and left them in the piles that they were dug up in, and it's quite interesting. This is really dramatic. So the first row, which is along the right hand side of the bed here, the front row closest to me, has obviously got a heavier crop than the row on the left hand side, and the row in the middle somewhere in between, and I'll tell you the figures in a minute. So what we realised we did was we planted the row on the right hand side first, and we probably unconsciously put the best potatoes in that row. We didn't actually do that on purpose, but that's what we think we did. So this is all a bit of a guess, but it seems like fairly reasonable. I always do that when I'm planting. Take the best ones first, and the middle row were the next ones, and the last row, which has dramatically less in it, would have had the weakest potatoes, the weakest seed potatoes. So what we've ended up with is the first row's got 10 kilograms of potatoes in it. So that's 9 plants. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 9. I think it might be 9 or 10 plants there. So there are there's 20 kgs of potatoes there in that row. The next row's got 8 kilograms of potatoes, and the last row's got about 5 kilograms of potatoes. So to me, what that says is if we're going to plant our own potatoes, we can double the crop, double the harvest, if you make sure that you save your seed potatoes from the biggest potatoes and also the plants that had the heaviest crop. And I also think, looking here, that look for the plants that had the most potatoes as well. So we want the most potatoes, the overall heaviest crop, and then the biggest potatoes out of that. So it's fairly obvious when we're looking at these piles of potatoes that mostly they've all, actually I counted every potato in every pile, and mostly they've all got about 15 or 16 potatoes in them, but a few of them had a lot less. And some of them had, like this pile here, had a lot less, and the potatoes were enormous. And so if you just collected the big potatoes from here for your seed potatoes next year, you might restrict your harvest because they may not have as many potatoes, although they might be big. So I'd say overall we're better off with a pile like that, which has got, I think, 20 potatoes in it, and the weight is at least as much as that. This one here's got actually the biggest potato of the lot. I haven't weighed that potato, but that's huge. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with this. So in 3 square metres of garden here, we've got, actually it's 1.2 by 3, so it's 3.5 square metres roughly. We've harvested about nearly 25 kilograms of potatoes, and we'll take out our seed potatoes out of that. We'll have, you know, well over 20 kgs of early potatoes. And the best thing about these early potatoes is that they've only been in the ground for 10 weeks. They were planted in mid-September. They could have been easily harvested at the end of November. They've only been in the ground for 10 weeks. There's no issues with psyllid, and they're out early enough for me to put in beetroot and carrots and salsify and anything I want now for my winter roots and legumes, because this is the winter roots and legumes section of the garden. Awesome. So I'm pretty happy with that, and I'll definitely try harder next year to get a more even line of seed potatoes, so we get up to maybe 30 kgs per, that's 10 kilograms a square metre of garden bed. I think that's pretty awesome. Great, so out of that harvest of potatoes I just showed you, I've selected my seed potatoes for next year. So I've selected all the biggest ones from the plants that had the heaviest crop and the largest amounts of potatoes, which probably gives more potential for even improving things. So next, and I've got them in a flax kitty that's quite open and aerated, and I'll hang them up there under a roof, but with plenty of air movement until I plant them next year. They keep really well. These potatoes are really good keepers. They're waxy, great for, we always have potato salad with these potatoes for Christmas Day. They're really waxy, dense, good keepers, stunning potatoes. Come to think of it, you could actually get 2 crops at 10 kilograms per square metre from the same area that most of our other old heritage potatoes, most of them require a long growing season. So if you planted these in mid-September and harvested them at the end of November and planted another crop straight away, they'd be out by the end of February, and then you could achieve potentially 20 square metres, 20 kilograms of potatoes per square metre, which I think for people with small spaces, I doubt you could beat that. I'd be really keen to hear from people if you're getting these kind of figures with your potatoes. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks. Bye.